So here's the ground type high grade GM. It's the last one in my GM team because it was the last one of my first group of 3 when it comes to Gundam kits. And as you can tell, the box art's actually pretty good. It's nice. It's showing you 3 different ways you can do the ground type. You can have him holding the standard machine gun with his shield. You can have him holding a bazooka with his shield, and you can also have him with this net weapon, like a capture net that he has without a shield, or any variant of that if you prefer. There's also what looks like a Zaku 3 in the background. It's weird. Or it could be the goof from the same show. And yes, Mobile Suit Gundam, the 8th MS team, is the show that this first appeared in, which is an OVA series. This is obviously Red Bandai, so it's a little older. It has the price tag on it, with it being 1,500 yen, which is pretty cool. A blurb on it that actually does have a translation for you, so you don't have to translate it yourself, which is pretty cool. And they have a little bit more about it over here in different poses and actions it can do. And talking about some gimmicks and weapons. And that is it for the box itself. It is a 2017 kit. So that should tell you how old this one is. Alright, moving on to the kit itself. And this is the kit itself. So, one of the things about this particular kit that I want to mention is that from the Blue Destiny you saw in the another video is based off of this kit when it comes to its design, because it's a ground type suit. But this is the GM, and it actually does have a little bit of panel line opportunities for people who prefer some decent detailing. However, it doesn't have a whole lot. A lot of the big flat parts are still just big flat parts, but there are some little creases and stuff you can get in to get some better detailing. This particular kit doesn't have any swappable parts or heads or anything like previous ones. It has one swappable part when it comes to something you can do with it, but I'll get to that in a minute. The articulation is actually not too bad, because you can do it's actually one of the better articulating standard kits. It's one of the first that actually made this level of articulation standard for high grades, and because of that, it's a little bit better than your average GM kit. So that's saying a lot, actually. However, as you may have noticed, that there are some differences with it. Like, they don't have those things that come out over here because it's not the Blue Destiny, it's the GM. So there is going to be a couple differences between the two, so that way you don't freak out and be like, oh, I didn't do it right, or I messed something up, I don't have this on there. And I was like, nah, it just didn't come with it. There's no leftover parts on the runner for this one, just like the Mark III. There is some extra accessories, but there's no leftover parts that you just don't use. Accessories wise, it has, as you can tell, this hyper bazooka, and when he turns around, I'll go ahead and show it to you. The 10mm machine gun that this part folds back, like I showed you on the Blue Destiny. This shoulder stock, and this extra handle can fold out. If you want him to like hold it with his other hand, you can do that. He does have these extra pieces of ammo cartridges that go on his side skirts. Oops. And you can pull those off if you wanted to, of course, and act like he's reloading it or something. Those will be able to go here on the machine gun. I want focus. There you go. So that's part of it, and he does have beam sabers. And normally you have them on the back of the backpack, but with this particular one, he doesn't have it there. He actually has it like the Blue Destiny does, with it's in his legs in this little piece right here. You can like pop this part off and take his beam saber out, which is honestly pretty cool. It's one of my favorite ways to store beam sabers is like have it in some kind of like secret panel somewhere, or like popping off a piece and then taking it out, because I think that that's actually a lot cooler than just having it on its backpack. Because when it's on its backpack, it's exposed, so other suits could take them or could target them to try and destroy its melee capabilities. This way it's stored away. And as you can tell, it has beam saber effect parts, which is pretty common. They're pretty long, though. Unlike the Mark III's beam saber effect parts that are really short, his is pretty long. It has an extra open hand for the left side. That's the only extra hand this kit comes with. And the net launcher, as you can tell. I don't personally care too much for the net launcher. A lot of people seem to like it, but I don't really see what the appeal is personally. It does have a moving handle over here, so you can adjust it, but it doesn't move a whole lot. This part doesn't move per se. The front part doesn't move. And that's really about it with this particular accessory. It does have one foil sticker here. This green part. And I painted that little red part on there. That's actually paint that I did myself. And that red paint also extends to the bazooka in the front. It's a targeting laser, or whatever you want to call it. I painted that on too for adding extra detail. This part around the vents are actually, these right here around the vent, the little white part, are actually foil stickers. So there's a little bit more foil stickers with this one than there was the other kit, which can be kind of a letdown for some people. I don't really know if that would affect your opinion on it. And then, of course, you have the shield, which you can set up like this as like an extra layer of defense, like a little barricade for the suit. But it's not really into scale with the kit, honestly. Which makes it kind of look a little goofy to have it like this, but I prefer to have it like this because on my shelf I have him next to the ground type Gundam, which I'll get to eventually as well in a review. And I have them both like this, like kneeling down with that as part of their like defense. And obviously some people will inevitably hit it, trying to hit him. So it helped a little bit actually, but it's still not to scale. And the last accessory it comes with is this little clip. And all it does is you pop off this back panel when he turns around. I'll show you. Right, yeah, here. This little square panel piece on the back skirt. You can pop that off actually and put that little hook there, that little clip. And you could clip the bazooka on that if you're not going to hold it. So he can store the bazooka. He just can't store the net launcher, so you have to choose between that or the submachine gun for him to hold. I have him holding both of the rocket launcher and submachine gun. I just think it looks cooler that way. But that's just me. If you don't care for it, that's fine. But like I said, it actually does have a surprisingly high level of articulation for a high grade from 2017. But this was the start of like better articulation for high grades. And that does make him a little bit better than your average high grade. I know it doesn't look like it's much better than the other kits, but while the other two kits were, I called standardized because the Mark III was a 2011 kit, so he was good for 2011, and the GM came out after the GM ground type, which they had already applied that level of articulation to him, which meant that it had become standard already. But this was the start of that. That the start of that kind of almost hyper articulation, but not quite hyper articulation, but definitely a lot better than it was in previous years. Um, so I got to give it credit for that. And moving on to the final verdict, I guess. Um, because of its level of articulation and the amount of accessories you have, gives you a pretty good amount of display options. Honestly, I mean, you don't have to do it this way. You could have the shield clipped on his arm, where it's just a machine gun, or you could have it to where he's holding just the launcher if you wanted to, or a beam saber. You have so many different options with this kit that I feel like the level of options you have is going to be maybe even a little better than the Mark III, because while the Mark III had some launchers to give you extra options, this one gives you extra options when it comes to physical like weapons that you can hold, which I think is a little better. Um, and his articulation's a little bit better and above average than your most common kits at the time. So I'd have to give this kit will get a 6 out of 10. So he's slightly above average, and I would definitely recommend the GM ground type as a. It's a great kit. Honestly, it's a fun build too, and it won't take you too long. Just note that you will have to deal with some small like foil stickers and stuff, or like little triangles that are on the legs and the chest piece. They're not too difficult, but just so you're aware, they are there. And this little gray spot on the bottom part of the leg is actually a foil sticker and not a plastic part. And of course, you have two for the head for the cameras. But like I said, it's a slightly above average high grade kit. It's nothing mind-bogglingly amazing, but you might be a little bit more impressed with this one than you would some of the previous kits that I've shown. Definitely with its articulation. I know I don't actually physically go over articulation because just about everybody else does that when it comes to their kits. And I figured instead of doing that every single video, I'll just give you an overview of the articulation. That way you can decide if you believe what I'm saying, or you can look up someone else's video and actually see them go over the entire articulation. I do think that that's kind of defeats the point. That way, when you build it yourself, you can find out how much articulation it has. I like to give you a little bit of a surprise there. I don't want to go over every single little nugget. That way, there's still something left for you to discover on your own while you're building it. But that's just me. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video. Hit that notification bell when you subscribe. It really helps me out. I've been trying to get some more subs here. And talk to you later. See you in the next video. Peace out.